Welcome, everyone, to another live episode of Jacob is Real at Jacob's Ladder. I want to thank you all for coming by the well, because this is going to be the craziest holiday season ever. There's so much weird things going on. It's a lot. It's a lot. So much so that I forgot to mute my other speaker. But now we're good. Is everybody good? Got a lot of people here already. Thank you for coming. Thank you for playing. Take a look at this wild thumbnail, huh? Like every single holiday this year, there is something totally profound, totally prophetic, as they say. It's very bizarre. I don't know what you celebrate. You could tell me in a live chat. Go say, hey, I celebrate this, I celebrate that. You know, if it's Christmas, Merry Christmas. If it's Hanukkah, Happy Chanukah. You know, whatever it is. I welcome you. But the world has done some twisting up of things. And it seems like right now, every single religion's holiday is under some kind of a weird attack. And by weird, I mean weird. Look at the thumbnail, right? I hope that the sound is good. You can give me a little sound check and we'll start the show up by talking about the wonderful holiday known as Saturnalia. Now, by the way, I don't want to be one of those bummers that's going to come on over and be Mr. Grinch, like the Dan calls me, because it's not, I got to be honest, it's not one of my favorite holidays. It really isn't, because there's just too much pressure, and it's like Thanksgiving for me, I like. You know, you don't got to buy presents. You know, you're just grateful. It's just the whole holiday is about being grateful for what you have. I like that. What religion has turned Christmas into, it's out of control. But, you know, you probably could understand why when you look at the origins of Christmas. And I'll just give you a little background. It's this holiday event called Saturnalia. Saturnalia. You know, Saturn, that planet, they say it's the devil. Satan, the adversary. That's what they say. A lot of people are worshiping that today, and you've all been tricked into worshiping it too. Isn't that something? That's what some people say. By the end of the program, you're going to probably feel a little bit better about whatever holiday you're celebrating, and you're also going to realize that all the madness has nothing to do with you. It's the outer court. We're going to leave it there. But yes, it came from this bizarre holiday known as Saturnalia, which was known for, guess what? It was known for having all sorts of bad stuff happen. You know, like everybody getting together and doing naughty things. Could you imagine? Imagine this year you go to your Saturnalia party, you know, and you come on over with your ugly sweater or whatever, or hopefully your meatball hat. I don't know if you can see it. We'll talk about it later. But you go to your party and, you know, next thing you know, everybody's getting wasted and they're just having sex with everybody and it's nuts and they eating, you know, the flesh of humans. This was a big thing back in the day. Thanks to the Roman Empire's conquest of Britain and the rest of Europe in the 2nd century, this Christian holiday that you know is Christmas, well, its traditions really don't come from there. They stem from Saturnalia, which is a mid-December. It's kind of like a winter solstice thing, I guess. Roman pagan god festival honoring the agricultural god Saturn. That's the holiday, Gen X. Thank you very much for the super chat. That's the holiday. And they twisted everything around. The holiday back in the day would be like, you know, you make wreaths, you have a tree, all of this stuff. This is what they did, and now we do it. And the irony is all of these Christmas traditions and these wonderful things that seem they're so nice. You know, like the gingerbread man, right? Did you hear about the crazy gingerbread man? He's stalking people. It's like a nightmare out there today. I tell you, you got to worry about these things. Christmas trees under attack. Crucifixes being torn off of buildings. There's a lot to get into. But the horror of Christmas and these traditions, well, they run deep. I saw an article, which I wanted to share with you, BuzzFeed. This is just to give you like a little appetizer. You're coming to my party, and it's not a Saturnalia party, so you don't got to worry about taking off your clothes or doing anything weird, right? We're just going to eat some good food, but we're going to start off with an appetizer. Yeah, that's right. There's Santa right there for you. That's Krampus. The horned beast. The horned beast. We're going to talk about a horned beast who's beheaded too, by the way. That went down. Do you like how I make my voice sound all silly? I do that for you. But yes, this it's an alpine folklore, and that's where you got Santa. Santa's evil counterpart. Do you know the carolers? Do you know what that used to be about? It was when people basically kind of broke into people's houses to take their food. They were hungry all the time. And do you know that it was once illegal to be a reveler in Christmas? Do you know what the penalty was? Oh, it wasn't a good thing, because they considered back in the day to do this would be a great dishonor to God, to participate in these pagan holidays. I have a feeling that this is something that's probably going to be relevant in the coming years for some reason. Just got that feeling that that's the direction we're going, but who knows? Do you know that tinsel comes from spider webs? Yeah, it's all so dark. And we don't want to talk about these mince pies, which are really about being a cannibal. We don't want to talk about that. We don't want to get into this stuff. But I want to talk about the nutcracker. Every time I say the word nutcracker, I think it's funny. When you're a kid and you got my nanny had those nutcrackers, and if you spent a little too much time at the boys club, because that's where I was raised, I was like a latchkey kid on my own at the boys club. Well, the nutcracker, they thought that it cracked the nuts. They didn't think it was like the other nuts. They thought it was like the nuts. You know what I mean? And it seems like that holiday is really based on a terrifying children's story that has to do with stuff like that, which is very strange. Very strange. So there's these dark origins to like everything that we, basically celebrate, that we, tell our kids. I remember, let me come on over here to talk to you for a second. I remember once going into my daughter's, it was like, I don't know, second grade, and I was going to read a story, and I read, Little Red Riding Hood, but I read the old one, and it was gruesome. What she did to this wolf, she disemboweled him, filled his belly with rocks, sewed him back up, threw him in the water. It was really a very, and when I was reading this thing, I didn't know that I had the original version, and I felt a little weird. And I got to tell you, doing the research of all these little things, like the gingerbread man, especially when you find out what the gingerbread man is connected to, all of this stuff is like connected to witches and witchcraft. And I'm not joking. Take a look. Let me show you this over here. Here we go. The tradition of making a gingerbread home, supposedly this great Christmas holiday, really comes from Hansel and Gretel. Now, do you notice kind of a trend here with trend? Do you notice a trend with the old story about children? Children being like, the Nutcracker had to do with this girl. She got cut. Let me read this. Her grandmother tells a story of a man cursed by a witch who becomes an ugly nutcracker, to which the child Mary, who gives birth. Rhonda Peterson. I'm Rhonda's favorite meatball. She says it every week. Thanks, Rhonda. Who gives birth to Jesus again? Mary. And then we got this child Marie. She was going to marry the cursed man of the witch anyway. She goes to marry the nutcracker. Mary. She ends up getting cut. She ends up getting subjugated. Very strange. A kingdom that's ruled by dolls, like bots. A kingdom ruled by bots. The Nutcracker. It's a weird story. And who are the ones that are fighting? The mice. It's weird. I should have put this out there, but I don't know if you follow Elon Musk on the old X. Everybody basically does. He was putting out a bunch of stuff about mice, right? Like robot mice or something. But if you think about it, the mice, they fight the AI. They fight the bots. Is this a weird take on the old, that we're actually in the Matrix and that it's really kind of just a weird story? It's all witchcraft. It's all MAGA, if you will. But, listen, whether or not you want to consider the tree, the Christmas tree, to be some like a pagan thing, it's up to you. I'm not going to tell you. But I will say that it seems like there is an onslaught on the old Christmas tree. We talked about this just a little while ago. We talked about how the Christmas tree at the White House, the 40-foot tree, the winds blew it over. This was big news. And when I saw that, I was like, there's something going on. And I told everybody, I said, keep an eye on things. There's something going on. Because like when things happen in the world and they have a tendency of getting you all upset, right? Like you're thinking like, oh, why are you painting the Christmas tree orange like the eco warriors in Germany just did? I'm going to show you that video in a moment. These eco warriors, they call themselves the last generation. When I read this, I don't think to myself, oh, well, they're green this, green that, probably like granola eating, tree hugging hippies. I don't think that. This is a joke. I'm joking. They're probably well-meaning and probably care about the planet, but they call themselves the last generation, and we're in the last generation. Jesus said this to his disciples. He said, this generation will not pass, so all these things come. And this is the generation. And how do I know this? By the way people are today. How apathetic, how hateful, how lustful, how proud, how hateful, how pointing the fingers at other religions. Like as if that's going to make you somehow done something right? You believe the psyop of your land and they believe the psyop of their land. And who's really looking for the Lord? Who's really looking for more? Who's really showing love today? Love is so important. It's the only thing Sean knows. Sean's a meese, not a mouse. He knows. Unless, of course, the mice are the ones that fight the robots, the AI robots. I don't know. Story's strange. These stories, they're strange. All of these things, they're working together for a reason. Why are we seeing so many issues with the Christmas tree? Maybe it is the last generation. Maybe this all needs to be pointed out. Wait till you find out what I got planned for the end of the show. It's just gonna weird you out and get you all goosebumped. Yeah, and I gotta tell you, this is a hard show for me to do today because I'm in a lot of pain. I don't know, last couple of days, I don't know if it's because of that huge, massive, I don't know if you know this, we had like a huge, massive like solar eruption and all these, particles are blasting us like right now. Schumann resonance is doing all sorts of weird hiccups and strange things. I don't know if that's the reason why I'm in a lot of pain or I'm not feeling that great. I don't know if you're having that, ear ringing, stuff like that. But I'll take it as like I'm getting downloaded. Like, the Lord is opening us up. The sun is shining bright, coming with the brightness of his glory. Is going to destroy all the lies of the world. It's going to wake everybody up. It's going to show me that when you paint a Christmas tree orange, you may be saying a little bit more. But before we get into that, let's talk about the White House and Biden. What just happened with him? Can you believe this thing with the motorcade? How terrible, right? Guy was drunk. He was intoxicated. That's the latest news. He was intoxicated and he was, I guess he wanted a faster way home or something. But this was a big scare. Almost as big a scare as the Jill Biden Christmas extravaganza. That, I don't know, it's been streamed like millions and millions of times. If you probably want hits, you should probably do something very cringe. And what do? At the White House, the Nutcracker. All about a man cursed by a witch. The children, the mice. Jill wanted to do something to make the children feel welcome. That's what she said. She wanted to do this. Now, they're taking a lot of heat. A lot of news organizations are saying that, this group is, anti this or anti that and very this, that, and the other thing. But, get a grand scheme of things, really? Really? But it was weird, and it just seemed like a terrible production. And they're supposedly a really great dance troupe. I looked the dance troupe up. They look like they're fantastic. They're from, I think, New York. They're around here. I don't know much about their politics. I don't really care. It's like if I'm going to watch a show, I don't care about your politics. I don't care about who you believe in. I want to see a good show. Give me a good show. Show wasn't that good. You want to see it? Who wants to see it? Raise your hand. Raise your hand in the chat. Can you even do that in the chat? Let me just show you some of this because this is something else. This is the day we're in. The Nutcracker. Ooh, spooky. All right, let's get over here. Let's see if I can play this. I want to make sure that it's, oh no, that's the other one. Here we go. No, it's not. Here we go. And play. Now, so this is it. This is the But you want children, and I think to myself, you got a lot of coolies hanging out. You got a lot of coolies hanging out in this if you want children to come, right? You got people dress very weird. Like this person looks like a flower in a muumuu in a dress. I don't know. And that's the wolf. The wolf's got a problem there. He's got a problem. Do you see him strutting? But I mean, I don't know. This looks like this cost a lot of money. That must be Marie. That must be Mary, who's supposed to be like symbolic of Christ. She just can't keep her mouth shut. She's so excited. Look at her mouth. She's just got her mouth wide open. She's like, I'm going to catch some flies. I'm going to keep my mouth open so wide. I'm so surprised. All of a sudden, I'm giving you a blow by blow. Is this how they do those videos? Where you're watching something and somebody comments? I mean, look, I don't know. This guy's he's got a nose ring. I'm too old fashioned. I'm just too old fashioned. I don't know. But in any event, people had a problem with it. Are you offended by it? Tell me in the live chat. I can actually see you. I figured out how to watch the live chat at the same time. Does it freak you out a little bit? Freaks me out a little bit. I gotta be honest. Not because of the dancers, not because of the nose ring or how they dress or anything else. Just because of the there's something going on. You tell me at the end of the show if you don't believe what I'm laying down here, but this is leading to something. I didn't know it was going to lead to something. It freaked me out like it always does. Especially when, I'm talking about the last generation. I'm thinking about that Christmas tree that they sprayed orange. Now, why was this so weird to me, the whole thing with the orange? Because I talk about orange all the time, right? The Donut and I, we did a show and we were talking about the orange. And then I did a show called Orange is the New Jesus because, of course, that's what they call Trump. They call him the Orange Jesus. So were they spraying the Orange Jesus all over that Christmas tree? I don't know, these green Grinches? Is that what was happening? That's what they're calling them, the green Grinches. Get it? Because green has to do with the old environment. Last generation. So it's weird that the Christmas tree gets spray painted with all colors orange. Does anybody else find that strange? I'm not sure. I think something is going on for sure. This group, by the way, they're called The Last Generation. They spray painted the tree. And then they held up a sign and then the whole world is up in arms. But the Bible talks about this and says that these things are going to happen. God brings a judgment. He starts to take everything that you hold dear and he makes it gross. Like the Nutcracker at the Boys Club. You don't want to be... Can I say something about the Boys Club? Because I grew up very poor in a very wealthy town. If you look up the Greenwich Boys Club, you'll see that it was a counselor of mine who ended up getting sued for doing what? Doing all sorts of terrible things with young boys, because it was all boys back then. We'd go to the beach. How weird is this? You want to talk about the days? I'm 52. We go to the beach. We get dropped off. We go to the beach on beach days, Tuesdays and Thursdays. You know what they would have after the beach? Skinny dipping. With grown men. And there was a deck where you could watch. Like there was like an office with a big glass partition. There were always people up there. Very strange, very gross. Very gross that all these stories have to do with these kids. And all these stories are the ones that are thrown on us. All these stories about children being, kidnapped, children being taken, children being abused. All of these Christmas stories. So you wonder why the Green Grinches came spray painted the tree. You start to think about that. Very weird. Very weird. Yeah, look up the Greenwich Boys Club. Just look that up and I got sued too. Big deal. Big deal. I knew that guy. I was in his house a lot as a kid. Very strange. I must have blocked out a lot. Maybe one day we'll talk about things that I do remember. But not today. This isn't the show. It's taking a dark turn. And I'm not that down with that. But I am down with the last generation. Because truly, Jesus said to everyone, this generation will not pass until these things take place. The things that are taking place that he's talking about, taking place now in the book of 2 Timothy. But understand this, in the last days, there will come difficult times. Does anybody here feel like they are in difficult times? More difficult than you remember perhaps in your life, in your lifetime. I'm 52. It's in a generation. Would you say things are more difficult, and I'll just say psychologically more stressful than ever before? You ever think that maybe that's part of their plan? Because when you're so stressed out and when you're so freaked out, you go into what's called fight or flight. You go into that lower little brain part. It's called the reptilian brain or the brainstem. Fight or flight, as opposed to sitting back, relaxing. Because fear, there's torment in it, but there's peace and power and joy in the love of God. Meaning that when you put yourself, you put your eyes on something more than what's happening in the world, and you start to see how God's correcting things. So when I see this being spray painted, I see almost the same thing as when they were, taking off the head of that Baphomet statue that was raised. A lot of people are like, oh, this is a great thing. Ron DeSanctimonious, he was saying how, people can't worship Satan. Which, if you're one of these, what they call patriots, I call myself a child of God. I'm just a guy that wants to do God's will. I call myself a meatball. But you would think that you would be for what they wanted, which was freedom of expression, freedom of religion, stuff like that. Just because you don't like the God. I mean, for crying out loud, I can tell you one thing. There are a lot of denominations in Christianity as well, because, I was the head writer over at one of the largest Christian networks in the world. I wasn't even like what they would consider to be a Christian. That was the big joke about me. Oh, he's young. He's young. And I love them. They were all wonderful people and they do good things. I'm not like tearing everything down, but if you think about Christianity, you got, oh my goodness, how many different denominations? Baptist, Pentecostal, Adventist, Church of Christ, Church of God, Protestant, Lutheran, Catholic, Mormon. And as people can be like, oh, the Mormons aren't Christians. They believe in Jesus Christ. They would be under that category. There's not supposed to be any division. So why do you think you got all of these religions being attacked and not just Christianity? You know what's going on with the people that are, that celebrate Hanukkah. You probably heard about the menorah that got fire extinguished. Who does that? And he's a member of the government. Who does that? Members of our government. Who does what we just found out? That just shows you how corrupt the land is. Wake up. This is the day. I've told you all. This is why I get excited when everybody's like getting so angry. Let it be revealed. Let it be exposed. God said, what you do in secret, I'm going to shout from the rooftops. It's being shouted from the Senate floor. Who here could give me an amen? It's being shouted from the Senate floor. And then I'll say something in my same breath, which you probably maybe even have a problem with. That poor kid. The world has screwed everybody up. Maybe he went to the boys' club. I'm just saying. It's very strange, these things. I know a lot of people from abuse that end up a certain way. And I said to everybody when I started this YouTube channel back in the day, I said, I'll take the speckled. I don't care where you've been. I don't care what you believe. I don't care what you think you know and don't know. How much you hate yourself or how much everybody tells you how worthless you are. I don't care if you don't believe in God. I don't care if you believe in God. I don't care if you're Muslim or Jew or Protestant I don't care. You're here. That's all that matters to me. And I'm going to share my faith. And my faith came before all of that stuff. You know what I mean? I got back to my first love, which is love God with all your heart, love others just like yourself. Okay, I got to get off the pedestal. I'm sorry, I'm on the pedestal. I'll get on the pedestal. But we're in the last generation. Lovers of themselves, boasters. Let me take a tangent, a boaster. You know the guy, his first name's Andrew. And I don't like him too much. I got to be honest. I took a lot of heat in the very beginning because I saw him influencing so many people, a lot of people that I cared about even. in the live chats or the comment section or who emailed me. They all were so angry when I came against that guy and I said, this guy is no good. And then everybody gave me a hard time. I lost like 1,000 subs like in a couple of days. But I was like, that's all right, Lord. And then I went on and I did another show and I said, okay, Lord, I think now's the time for you to show him. And then the charges were brought. Just recently, I did the same thing. Everybody's like, oh, everybody's promoting him again. Promoting this guy. This guy who has shown no remorse. He's not shown any remorse. Now he's going to be a Christian, I guess, because he went on George Janko's broadcast. I don't know if we got 1,111 watching as I'm doing this because I'm getting fired up. I'm feeling it. So everybody do me a favor. We only have 88 likes. I know you're excited, but could you imagine if you all took a second to actually like it? I don't know. On my end, that's all it's showing. But listen, George Janko used to be with the Logan Paul thing. Supposedly he's a Christian, right? Supposedly. But once again, you got to look at the tree by its fruit. And if the fruit on the tree ain't good, maybe it's going to get spray painted orange. So I spoke out. I've got this guy and everybody was like, oh, he's good at it. And I said, you know what? And then he got dealt another blow. I said, why don't we just show everybody, Lord? Why don't we show everybody if everybody thinks that this guy's somehow rehabbing his image? And then they didn't allow him to get his Lamborghinis and all these things that say that make him a man. This guy that says, you can't be a man unless you got this, I got this, I got that, I got this. He just said something about, how many different babies you can have with how many different women makes you like a righteous man. This dude is off his bonkers. He's bonkers. But you know who else is bonkers? This guy, George Janko, who everybody thinks is a good dude, Good dude, had the best opportunity in the world with his supposed best friends and his, got all whatever happened. But clearly, he goes to Romania and he has him on the show. It's like rehabbing his image, supposedly. That lower, I wasn't even going to talk about this. I was like, this was on the back burner of just in case. He reposted this thing, says your podcast with George made me believe in God. Andrew Tate is not making anybody believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jesus and you, because I know you know that. You can't say you believe in God and also say out of the same mouth that I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. You know what's weird? I had a weird dream. And once again, I do these things called on X. If you're not following me, because you probably should. But I've decided, especially if you saw my last show, which I really hope you do because it was a great show and it took so many days to put together. It was very hard to edit. The stuff that I do is not easy because I don't want to just come on here and just throw up a couple articles like a lot of YouTubers. I know they put out a lot of content. I try very hard to give you something that's at least, I want to be presentable. I want to do the best that I can for all of you. But so on X, what I do is I share these, things, whether I have a dream or anything else. And the reason is it becomes something that I can pull up quickly through a search bar and then say, hey, look at this. So I had this weird dream. The first dream was there was a TV pastor in some kind of a mall and I exposed his ignorance. Now, I didn't know what that was until I realized just a little while ago that I'm basically calling out a mall pastor for his ignorance, that he doesn't know the first thing about God. I'm basically doing it. But it's the second dream that may freak you out because it should freak you out. It may give you a lot of encouragement. And if you follow me on X, you know it's Jacob Israel 71. You can go there. It's free. And I share a lot of stuff. The second dream was there was a tanker, like shipping containers, ship with people. And I saw all these people and I saw that the boat was out of control. I didn't write all this because you can only write so much. But an old lady fell in the water. I grabbed her and I threw her into the boat like Superman. And I tried to save as many of them as I could. Like Superman, because for some reason I had power over the boat. It was weird, but I couldn't. It was in some kind of a weird, like, type of a. It wasn't like the open ocean. It felt more confined. It was very strange. But so what I wrote was, so a pastor gets exposed and a migrant ship sinking. Well, guess what happened? Guess what happened that day? A terrible accident. A migrant ship sunk. And this year alone, we got 2,200 fatalities in this period. It's horrible what's going on. So it's just very strange. Once again, here we have it. I tell you all the time, pay attention to your dreams. I tell you all the time to keep a notepad next to you or just do what I do. Post it on X. It'll be fun when your dream comes true and it will encourage your faith even more. Now, obviously, a lot of people were saved, so thank God for that. But this is weird, right? This is weird. I say it on a lot of shows lately because I believe that this should encourage people to understand that this is the time. God pours out his spirit upon all flesh. Young men have visions. You probably have a vision in your life or an idea about things. Old men, they dream dreams. I'm an old guy. I do feel like an old soul. But 22,000. So how weird is that? That 7:21 in the morning, a shipping container ship filled with people fell in the water. Migrant ship sinking. And then you look at the migrant ship sinking that very same day. Weird, right? Maybe there's power to our words. Maybe God is trying to say something. Maybe we all should be fired up. Because you know where this story goes? You may have a lot of debt. You may be worried. People emailing me all the time. They've lost this, they've lost that. Got a good friend of mine and his wife right now. They have a summons against them because, they got kicked out of this place. We got to pray for each other. We got to encourage each other. We got to get involved in the comments. Look at the comments. You see somebody who's hurting, you got to stop by and encourage them. We need to build this. We need to build it because this is the day we're in. We're going to need each other. All right, let me get back to the craziness of this show. So they spray painted the tree. This is what happens. And a lot of people are going to be upset with it, but it is what it is. So let's just take a look at it and you'll see. They are kooky kids that really don't know much better. I mean, really, what else are we going to say? What else are we going to say? They do what they do. Maybe one day we won't have these wackadoos doing wackady-doody things. I mean, look at them. They're younger than my 3 oldest kids. And they are, you know what they're doing? They are damaging property and doing all sorts of things. It's criminal activity. Now, what they could have done was they could do something maybe possibly to help the environment, as opposed to destroying stuff. But that's the generation we're in. Selfish, greedy, prideful, lustful. And then in Germany, man, this was sad. Did you hear about what happened in Germany? So weird. All right, but you know what? Let's do something fun. Let's take a look at the gingerbread man. Okay? The evil gingerbread man. So there was this giant gingerbread man. I don't know if you saw the viral video going around. Terrifying a neighborhood. This guy just dressed up in a costume. Was just going around, a bunch of Virginia residents last week dressed as the gingerbread man. He was caught on camera. It was looking all like a horror movie. I got a kick out of the name where it took place. North George Mason Drive. The Mason Drive. The North George Mason Drive. You want to see how I do things? I'm going to bet, just guessing now. I'm guessing now. Let me do this while you're here. I'm going to bet that George Mason was a Mason. This is how I do things. I get ideas. That's it. Real time. Everybody wants to know how I do it. Everybody wants to know how I do it. Grand Master of the Premier Lodge in England. George IV. How interesting. Interesting indeed. All right. Let me get back to that. See what I mean? Like everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. When you get these little vibes, you want to call them that. God speaks as a whisper. The enemy comes in like a steamroller. It's going to scare you. It's going to threaten you, scream at you. That's why when people follow the enemy, they usually yell and get out of control, because that's not God, who speaks with a still, small voice. That's how you know whether someone is motivated by love or by the devil. The Children of the Kingdom. My last show was about the harvest. If you want to know what the harvest is, go watch it. Just the last video. Video, not live. This is a live. Tares. Wheat. Tares. Wheat and tares. All interesting. But yeah, so this gingerbread man, you want to take a look? Let's pull this up. This wackadoo. Freaking people out. It's kind of funny if you think about it. But not funny when you understand that the gingerbread man is actually
not to disclose
evil.
His identity says they didn't
Like
know what
evil.
to do, so they just watched.
Like a demon, actually. How freaky is that? The bobbling of the head,
the non-emergency police
all
line.
of this stuff.
I just want to report this.
Very
This is
weird.
not an emergency.
Homeowners
Some
were
guy
not too thrilled about it.
came
Let's
with-
take a look at this guy again.
Police
Walking
law.
up the
So we called
stairs with his head all bobbling.
We've-
Let me tell you something.
This guy-
Gingerbread man
camera.
comes to my house to scare me. I'm
We
opening
noticed
the
the
door.
camera was
My
trying to
son's
push.
coming
We looked
around
at the
back with the
camera,
bat, both
looked
of
at
them.
this guy in the
And
costume.
He
we'll
felt
just
like
make
he
sure that
needed to
he's
report
maybe,
it
maybe
to
he's just
someone.
really trying to
So
go
we called
around
the
and
non-emergency
spread some
police
cheer.
line.
I mean, it's a possibility that we've all gotten so freaked out. It is a possibility we've gotten all so freaked out. Maybe he was just like an old neighbor who's like, hey, I know what I'll do for the kids this year, Eunice. I'll dress up like the gingerbread man. I'll go around. I'll hand out your gingerbread snaps that you make every year. I'll color the doors. Then he comes home, All the doors are shutting on him. The windows are shutting. The lampshades are going down. Everything. He's like rejected it. He's like, I just want to give you some holiday cheer. But we're all so messed up because of the abnormal amount of like military grade psyops that we all have to endure. That nobody even answers the door anymore. Like we were in the living room and it was Ethan's neighbor. Our neighbor, Ethan's friend coming to the door. We picked up the packages for the neighbor when they were away. And we were just like, the doorbell rang and it was like dark. And we're like, who on earth visits us? Nobody even likes us. Well, likes me. Everybody loves my wife and the kids. But I'm a weirdo. Who is it? Freaks us out. Could have been the gingerbread man. Just coming to give us some cookies. And we got all scared. He probably went home. He was probably depressed. He's like, I don't know what happened. I spent $75 on that inflatable suit. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Then he eats himself into a stupor. He eats all this. This is the story I want to tell myself, But it's hard to tell these stories when you can't even go to the mall and get your child pictured with the old Satan Claus. Can't do that. I understand, Saint Nick. I understand that. Do you know Saint Nick, by the way? We just found his, I did a show a couple of years ago. We found his relics, like his grave. And do you know that Saint Nick is like somehow connected to the Templar, the Knights Templar? Like this is another one of those MAGA things. Very weird, right? Well, they go to the mall and there's so many protests going on. No one's allowed to see anything or go in. They're scaring the kids. They're just on Santa's lap. They're like, I'd like this thing. Santa's like, trying to just get through the day. He's all sweaty and old and drunk, and you got all these protests that were screaming. I saw videos of this. They were like in people's faces. One of them was saying, I'll put you 6 feet under. If you go to my X page, you'll see. By the way, if you do, please do follow me there because, that's the only other platform that I can actually release long form video. I'm not on any of the other ones, mainly because I can barely keep up with just one. But at least X is I think it's going to be the future. So I got to be there, and the audience has grown, and I don't seem to be hindered there, which is nice. So they were saying, Jesus, he's from the old Palestine, and they were screaming, and I mean there is some truth to that because that area is in Palestine today, but it's kooky to see like this onslaught and this attack on these holy days. Holy days. Very strange to see this. Do you know right down the street, not down the street, it's like an hour away. It's a very wealthy area. It's near the Hamptons. It's called Sag Harbor. I used to work for a guy who had, when I did boxing back in the day with CKP Productions, when I left WWF at the time, I ended up doing this show called Thunderbox. And needless to say, I had to go to Sag Harbor many times. Very nice area, but the Santa there, because of his stance on things, he's done. He's done for. No more Santa for him because of his take on things. His take on things. People have a problem with other people's ideas and beliefs. I say as long as you're not hurting anybody and you are okay with just loving a person for who they are within, not the person that was formed and all the politics. But, maybe then you wouldn't have people that work for the government taking a fire extinguisher to a menorah. I mean, how nuts is the world today? So now you got what? Now you got their holidays being attacked too. One after the other. I can't get away from how weird all of this stuff is. Just strange. So yeah, he thought he was making a statement. He was trying to prove something about the war. And then here you have it. And by the way, Merry Christmas to all of you. I see no expectation saying Merry Christmas. Appreciate it. And yeah, someone else is pointing out God's champion. We're all supposed to be God's champion. What is God? John said it best. John, who Jesus loved the most. Yeah. If you went into a restaurant and John and Jesus and the disciples were there, John was always the guy right next to him, the one that he loved. And there's actually one depiction where you probably think Jesus was maybe, weird because he had his shirt wide open and John had his head nuzzling into Jesus's chest at a restaurant. Kind of like The Rock walking out of the limo. I talked about that on the last show. Yeah, that actually happened. But that's all, once again, symbolic. Maybe it really was the case. Maybe he was just listening to the guy's heart. Who knows? But my point is, all of this stuff with religion, it's got everybody crazy. It's got everybody crazy. Yes, and Feliz Navidad, Prospero y Nuevo to all of you as well. We got to be excited for the day we're in. We got to be happy about the times we're in. And we can't get too messed up if, like, say, we go into a government building for whatever reason, we're taking our kids on a tour. Come on, Junior. Come on, Lass. People name their daughters Lass anymore? Or is that like a bad expression? Come on, sweetie pie. They go to the Capitol. Next thing you know, you got the horned goat deity, Baphomet, staring at you from after school Satan. Oh, very weird day we're in, Rebecca. Am I not right? Thank you for the super chat. All the super chats, by the way, they're so super helpful. I have a Patreon, which I'm thinking of doing like dream interpretation. I'm trying to think of something that I can do because I'm not putting any of this stuff behind a paywall. Everything that I share, I think, is really important for people to get. So, I just kind of hope that people will share it so that the advertisers can, maybe give me a little more. It's right now, you can ask any YouTuber. We're all struggling because we're being held back and the advertising is very difficult right now. So Patreon, which you could $1, $5, whatever you want, you can go in there. I don't really offer much, but you can contact me. We have a live chat. We got a lot of things. And I'm thinking of doing like a dream interpretation show just for Patreon because I think it would be nice to do that for people. And people that are on PayPal and that reach out to me on PayPal. All these ways you can help me. Like if you want to get yourself a God's Champion shirt or a meatball hat, go in the links to the description below. I got to tell you these things. I know it's a pain. And trulyfreehome.com for the best cleaning supplies. All these things help. But at the bare bones, because I'm not asking you to do more than just like the video. Leave a comment, tell me what you thought. Share it around if it meant something to you. Because I think that the day we're in is a day where people really need to wake up. People are celebrating this veteran, that Christian veteran. I think he was in the Navy. So what happened was they set up this, Baphomet statue, which you see to the left right there, right next to, go figure, the Christmas tree, like the nativity scene and all that stuff. This isn't new. This is something they did last year. I actually covered it last year. They had this whole thing with the baby Baphomet in the manger. You know? I mean, look, they're trying to get press and everything else. They have after school Satan. Ron DeSantis, though, he said that he condemned this, and he said Satan is not a god that can be worshipped. He doesn't consider it a religion. If that doesn't scare you a little bit, if you like democracy, which, let's face it, really, I think that ship has sailed. I think we got to just trust that God's going to work it all out. That's the direction we're going. If you're not going to do the right thing in life, you're not going to be kind and loving, and you're going to be forced to. You're going to be forced to. You're not going to want to be a bad citizen. You're probably not even going to have to. You're not even going to jaywalk because they're going to put your face up on a bus like they do in China. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Going to have to be a good person now, and then it doesn't affect you much, right? Let God, help you, because there's a day that's coming financially for a lot of people. It's going to be a day of freedom, and I'm looking forward to it. It's called the Jubilee. We're entering into it. Just check out the debt clock now and then. It'll freak you out. But this guy, he basically went in. They set up this statue. They won a lawsuit. He went in and he beheaded it. Immediately after that, he got in trouble. Now he's got to go to court. And the funny part is, like, he's making more money now for, damaging another person's property. Isn't that funny? I say this, and I feel some of you going, well, he should be damaged. I know, I get it. I don't like it either. But I also know that I got to love the people that set it up. And I know that the best way to bring somebody back from the abyss is not to hate them, not to disrespect them, not to harm them, but to love them. It is love that draws a multitude to repentance. Love. Had somebody on X, a relatively good-sized influencer who, I've even mentioned on the channel because I thought had very insightful posts. Well, just has had so many what I would consider to be posts that are against people who are Jewish. I mean, I'm not Jewish, but I mean, let's be honest. The tribe of Judah came out of Jacob, right? So I'm Jacob Israel. I consider myself, I made a covenant with God. If this was back in the day, it would be basically like, Judah comes out of the children that I have. That would be the way it works. And then that's where supposedly you get the Jews today. But he has a big problem with it because everybody wants to blame them for everything, right? And they don't even realize it. But it's not just them, because other people now are blaming other people too. It's like, oh no, it's the Muslims. But then the Muslims are saying, oh no, the Christians got to go. Do you see what's happening? This is how you get one world religion, people. This is a lesson. How do you get one world religion where the government, the beast system, can take control of even your spiritual life, which it's done in the past, and it'll do again and continues to do, because it offered you all these weird offshoots of Christianity. And I mean, even in Judaism, you have so many different branches, and in Islam, you got warring factions that kill each other. How horrible. Does this sound like the God that you want to know, love, and serve? No, of course not. You want to serve the one that's going to lift people up. But anyway, he did this, and now he's making money for doing it. He's famous now for doing it. Guess who else? Remember back in the day, that young kid, and so many people call him a hero because he went to, when all the protests were going on, he went and he ended up, how terrible. People ended up dying. He's kind of a hero now. He's got I think he's got a best-selling book and everything else. Kyle. And I'm not blaming the guy. I mean, I'm sure his heart was in the right place. Things happen. But once again, if he was my child, first of all, he wouldn't have it. Second of all, he wouldn't be going down there. He'd be really trusting that you do the right thing and trust that God's going to work it all out like God always does. Stop taking the honeypots. That's what everybody's doing. They're taking a honeypot. This is a honeypot. You're doing exactly what? Guess what? Guess how many Satanists can get more Satanists just by saying, hey, we're really just kind of about empowerment and being your best self. And we think that, religion promotes hate and this, that, and the other thing. And they're like, oh, we'll prove it. Well, we just put up this, this thing to kind of honor, the way we think. And Christian came over and chopped its head off. And now people are sending him more money than ever before. And he's going to be fine. And he's a hero and governors are praising him. Is that the God you want to worship? Come on down to After School Satan. Come on down. Woo-hoo! Go to After School Satan Club. That's the way they get you. But if you love them, you draw them to repentance. That's what the scripture says. That's what the scripture says. But I find it all just so crazy. Now, here's a question. How many people, be honest, everybody. A. Baker, that's a great point. Jesus flipped tables. What do you think I'm doing? What do you think Christ is doing every day of the week? He went into, where did he go into again? Did he go into the inner court? Was he inside the temple, or was he in the outer court going in, where they were selling pigeons and doves, and they were selling the sacrifice? They were happening today. They were on YouTube, helping you get out of the matrix, selling the sacrifice. So what did he do? He came in. What did he do? He flipped over the money changers' tables, flipped them over, and he made a cord with whips, which was basically used to drive out, like sheep or cattle. And he let all of the sacrifices free. But where's the temple of God? We are. What do you think's being flipped right now as you're listening to this being flipped within? Christ is flipping those tables within me. Me, like there would have been a time that I would have been so mad that someone spray painted a Christmas tree. And now I'm like, it's probably the Lord doing it. You see what I mean? It's a different way of looking at things. The tables are flipped. They're flipping. Question is, are you going to the big mega, churches? That's basically what the hour court would be like. Going to big mega churches, getting your tambourine and your oil, and you're healing this and you're healing that, and you're buying the sacrifice. Are you part of that? Or are you just seeking God on your own, doing what Jesus said? He actually said, I got to go away. You all still don't get it. You're all making it all about me, and you're not making it about a relationship with the Father. He was the firstborn among many brethren. That means siblings, the firstborn among the dead. They call him the pattern son. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. You can't know God unless it's through me. This is what Christ said. And it makes so much sense. So yes, tables are flipping for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. But when you see, that statue of, the devil or whatever being beheaded, if that doesn't bother you, does this bother you? Does it bother you when a man with a NASA shirt, let me see if I can pull this up. There we go. Mike at Mead on this. This is the at Jacob Israel 71. Look what shirt he's got on. Now, does this bother you? Let's just take a look at this. And let's just gauge. I want to gauge your oh my God factor. Like, does this trouble you though? Like, does that bother you? Is one better than the other? This is a question. Look at that shirt. Can't possibly be set up or staged, can it? We can't possibly be conned. Think about that right now. What do people honor today? You ready for some revelation? Are you ready for some revelation? Do people honor the Christ that is alive and within them, the Christ in you, the hope of glory, the living Christ, the Christ of the living God, the Holy Spirit of God? Do people honor that today? Which you can't see, right? No one has seen God at any time. Says that. Say you do, you're a liar, basically. Or do we honor the dead Christ, the dead Jesus? Do we honor that? Do we put the instrument of the death and do we worship that? Do we get on our knees and say, oh Lord, help us? And you're looking at the very thing that killed the Christ that's in you saying, hey, I'm at the door. I'm waiting. The Christmas tree's painted orange. You got a gingerbread man running through your neighborhood. Maybe you just say, hey, God, help me out, huh? That's all you got to do. Does it bother you? Do you know what idolatry is? Do you have a picture? If I ask you about Jesus, or if I say, what does God look like? Do you picture a 6-foot-tall white guy with a beard and blue eyes? Because you be picturing me, because I got a beard and blue eyes, but I'm not Jesus. I'm just Jacob, the old meatball. Let me tell you what the scriptures say about idolatry, just to give you a little heads up. Now, I know that in the Catholic faith, by the way, idols and icons and all this stuff, which, by the way, Christmas tree too, all of these things. I don't know, did you hear that explosion? There was some kind of an explosion. We've been getting a lot of them lately. It's very weird in my neighborhood. Things blowing up left, right, and sideways. But an idol is anything that basically replaces what God is. It's in the book of Romans. This is Romans chapter 1, which is really all about idolatry. It has nothing to do with a person's, preference when it comes to sexuality. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. The Christian who goes in and, breaks the law and doesn't actually go to the people who set the image up and offer them a cup of coffee if they drank coffee, or maybe some nice hot chocolate and a gingerbread man because they're probably into the witch devils, right? Just kidding. I don't want to insult anybody. But they changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into the image made like a corruptible man. They thought that they knew it all, but they thought God looked like a man or a bird or a four-footed beast or a creeping thing. In the book of Exodus, Moses made this so clear in the Ten Commandments. I'm the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt and the house of bondage. That's what's happening today, by the way. You won't have any gods before me. And by gods, I mean, you will love. You will not use the name of what you call me to excuse your hate. If you hate and you say, I'm doing it because the Bible tells me so, you don't know me. Because if you can't love the person you see, this is what I told this influencer on X. He asked why I didn't follow him anymore. I said, because it was breaking my heart. Because I think you have so much insight. And then I tried to counsel him. I tried to show him, and I asked him simple questions. Do you love Jews? Can you tell me you love a Jew? He couldn't tell me. He says, I love everyone. Do you love a Jew? Couldn't tell me. Got very angry. I said, I love Jews, I love trans, I love gays, I love this, I love Muslims, I love everybody. We're all lost and broken. God wants me to love everybody. Got to bring them in. Jesus cried. He cried. He looks at the world like I look at the world, and he cried. He said, oh, Jerusalem, how I would bring you in and hug you, comfort you and guide you, but you will not. That's the day we're in. I got a little emotional. I'm very sorry about that. But man, it breaks my heart when people I think have potential. Then you know what he did? Like a meatball. He then recorded the entire thing, like as if he was going to expose me for giving him a hard time for not loving, and then posted it on his page. Like as if he was somehow called me unhinged. I guess a guy that's going to cry to a microphone about Jesus, just wanting you all to come to him. Nicodemus came to him all the time. I got a lot of Nicodemuses. I got a couple of Nicodemuses. And I know who they are. They probably don't even know that I know who they are, but I know. In the day, they won't acknowledge me, but I'll tell you what, if I'm ever gone, they'll probably put up a statue of me, right? That's what they did. That's what they did to Jesus. Nicodemus, come to Jesus in the dark. No one would know he was there. And then when Jesus died, what did he do? Give me that body. I'm going to put it in the tomb. I'm going to put it in a tomb. The best tomb. You starting to see the story a little different now? Nicodemus wasn't anybody great. But what happens on the third day, the day we're in, the last generation, comes out of that tomb. It's going to flip your tables. That's the day we're in. God says, this is a good one about the Christmas tree, some people say. Hear what the Lord says to you people of Israel. This is what the Lord says. Do not learn the ways of the nations or be terrified by the signs in the heavens. Now imagine he's talking to you right now, by the way. Though the nations are terrified by them, for the practices of the people are worthless. They cut down a tree out of the forest, a craftsman shapes it with a chisel, they adorn it, they turn it into a cross. They put silver and gold on it, they fasten it with a hammer and nails so it won't totter. Like a scarecrow in a cucumber field, their idols, they don't even speak. They must be carried to and fro because they can't even walk. Don't fear them that build these things. Don't be like them. When you put that in perspective, that's what the person made. That's what the thing that needs to be carried, and everybody carries it proudly, celebrating the death, but no one's talking about the life. You know why? NASA. We've all been deceived. That's why. But that day is over. That day is over. Everything's being exposed. I don't know if you've noticed. And that's a good thing. We even have with the Vatican right now, someone's going to jail. If they be corrupt, corruption's being revealed. It's happening. You know, it's interesting that the first guy that ever ends up with a jail sentence, though, ironically, is somebody that stole from the church. You know, forget about like everybody else who's been through the ringer. No, you steal from the church, you're done, pal. You're done. This is a good day. This is a good day we're in. This is a great day we're in. I feel good. I feel that trumpet. Somebody put a trumpet in there. I feel, you know what? I'm going to blow the trumpet. What the heck? Why not? Because I think I'm done with the show. Let me blow the trumpet. And then I'm going to read you a passage. Because I'm getting better with it. You know what the problem is? Then I'm going to go right downstairs and help Ethan with his homework. I know how to blow the horn. Who's blowing a horn with me? Who's telling the world? Hey, you want to take a look at the nativity scene for the first time in new light? You want to see who the shepherds are that are watching over the flock in the dark of night? Stressed out all the time, worried about this, that, and the other thing. Shepherds in this day, hard for them. Hard for them. Hard for them, especially because of how, messed up things are. Let me see if I actually have this. I may have not pulled it up. Let me see if I can pull it up quick. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to pull up Bible Gateway, and we're going to see if we can find it on our own. Get the meatball hat. There you go. Meatball hat. Go. By the way, if you go to the links in the description, this is where all of the merch is. There's a lot of it, too. You kind of explore. You can look at the apparel. All this stuff. I'm a witness, God is a champion, all these things. Check them out. Let me get rid of the tacky video. And let me pull up Bible Gateway. And I'm going to type in shepherd. Hopefully spell it right. And we'll go to Luke. I like that one. Here we go. I'm going to put the full chapter up here. And you know what I'll do is I'm just going to read it so you don't have to look at the screen. Okay, hang on a second. Hey, anybody have a problem with the taxes? Everything's very expensive right now, right? Same was the case in the birth of Jesus, Lawrence Sawyer. Thank you very much for the 111. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken by the entire Roman world. Roman still reigns, I think, in the WWE. This was the first census that took place under the governor of Syria. Now, does anybody remember a census taking place back in like 2020? I remember that census going out. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth to Galilee, to Judea, to Bethlehem, to the town of David, because he belonged to the house and the line of David. He went there to register Mary, There probably wasn't a Baphomet statue there when he married her, and he went to marry her, but I'm sure there were other Roman things. Who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. Now, I want to try to explain this spiritually for you, but first let me just read it to you the way it's written. And she gave birth to her firstborn son. She wrapped him in cloth, placed him in a manger. A manger, by the way, is where an animal eats. There was no room for them available in the inn. There was really no room for Christ and the Spirit of the living God in a lot of people. Jesus said this himself. He said, foxes have holes, birds have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. The only place they could find was where animals were eaten. Now, you could call that YouTube, TikTok. You could call, where are the animals eating today? What are we consuming? If we're talking about understanding, that's where Christ was placed, right where all the animals were. And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby. They were keeping watch over their flocks at night because God gave them a flock to take care of. And the angel of the Lord appeared to them first, by the way. And the glory of God shone around them. They were terrified. But the angel said, don't be afraid. I bring you good news. This is cause for great joy for all the people. Today, in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign to you. You will find him wrapped in cloth and lying in a manger. Suddenly, a great company of heavenly hosts appeared with the angel, praising God, saying, glory to God in the highest, and on the earth peace to those on whom his favor rests. When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, let's go to Bethlehem, and let's see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about. This is the day that we're in. This is the moment that we're in. There's shepherds in the field. There are people keeping watch over the flock at night. There was a census, taxes higher than ever before. But in the town of David, in the city of Bethlehem, a Savior is born this day. For all the people. For all the people. And that's the day that we're in. And that's why this Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate, don't get caught up in what Rome told you to celebrate. Enjoy it, but don't worship it. Don't make it all about it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. But instead, thank God that spiritually all of this stuff is happening today. All right, I got to get out of here. I'm tired. My voice is shot. I hope that this meant something to you. I hope that you can share the video around, hit the like, subscribe, do all these things because it matters. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. So when I, can check it later after I help Ethan with his homework and everything else, then, it'll make me happy, or it'll make me think maybe I should stop being so emotional because I felt it. I feel for people today. I really do. I feel for what all of you are going. I get a lot sent to me and I'm not like everybody else. I feel a responsibility to all of you. I do. And I'm grateful for you. So Merry Christmas if I don't talk to you, but I will because I have to, because there's so much going on. And just have the best day ever, okay? I love you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Adios, muchacho and muchachas.